A fatal industrial accident at a Yau Ma Tei public cargo handling area. The former Wan Chai branch of the troubled physical gym chain reopens under a new name. And the U.S. and U.K. offer new aid to Ukraine. Hello and welcome to TVB News. A worker died in an industrial accident at a public cargo working area in Yau Ma Tei. A labor rights group says industrial accidents at the same site have already left at least 3 people dead and 5 others injured over the past 2 years. The group asked the Labor Department to carry out a thorough investigation. Timothy Lee tells us more.
At the scene of the tragedy, the tailgate of a truck where the victim was preparing to offload the cargo remained open. The cargo could be seen flipped over with a pallet truck parked nearby, a shoe belonging to the victim lying on the ground. The incident happened at a pier on Hoi Fai Road. Police received reports at around 1:30 p.m. about a 29-year-old male worker being struck by a 1.7-ton oven while assisting with transportation work. The man lost his consciousness after the impact and was confirmed dead at Guanghua Hospital. Police officers and Labor Department staff rushed to the cargo handling area to carry out an investigation. Authorities measured the size of the fallen cargo. The Association for the Rights of Industrial Accident Victims noted that the man was struck by cargo that fell from the truck's tail lift while it was being lowered from the vehicle. Susie Mann, chief executive of the association, said that machinery assistance is needed when offloading heavy cargo, but no such equipment was seen on site. She added that accidents at this public cargo working area have left at least 3 people dead and 5 others injured over the past 2 years. She requested authorities to take measures to prevent further accidents. Family members of the victim were emotional as they rushed to the hospital to inquire about the situation. Earlier in June, another male worker died in the same area after metallic water pipes fell from height and struck his head, while another 2 workers were injured by falling goods in April last year. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The former Wan Chai branch of the troubled physical fitness chain reopened this afternoon under a new brand name, Healthy. Earlier, Physical claimed it had found new investors for this particular gym, which told Physical customers that it will offer some of the prepaid services without additional charges. Timothy Lee again.
The newly opened gym, named Healthy, welcomed its first gym enthusiasts this afternoon. Some people were seen at the reception signing documents, consenting to Healthy's replacement of Physical and providing some of the prepaid services. Last Saturday evening, a day after its closure, Physical issued a statement about new investors taking over its Wan Chai facility, but no further details were provided. It wasn't until this afternoon when a pull-up banner placed at the gym's building in Wan Chai noted that the new gym will serve Physical customers and provide personal fitness training and beauty sessions with no additional charges. A female customer said she was pleased with the opportunity to continue her training session at this gym, as she had already expected she could get nothing back. This man said he would not be surprised if the new gym fails to take responsibility for Physical's previous services. According to the terms listed in the new gym's document of consent, Healthy has the final decision on matters related to the dates and arrangement for relevant training sessions and other courses. The gym also has full discretion in deciding on whether to accept or reject applications. A lawyer said the document's terms do not offer full guarantees to former Physical clients. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Poland today, a day after his meeting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev. Blinken, British Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and Zelensky discussed the issue of long-range weapons. Ukraine wants permission to use them to hit targets deep inside Russia. Western allies have so far been reluctant to give the green light, though neither the U.S. nor Britain is ruling it out. Nazvi Karim with more.
Antony Blinken and David Lammy came to Kiev bearing gifts for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But Zelensky wants more. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken has pledged $700 million to Ukraine to add to the tens of billions already given over the past 2.5 years, while British Foreign Secretary Lammy said his government will send £600 million. Zelensky, though, also wants missiles, specifically long-range missiles such as American ATACMS and British Storm Shadows that can penetrate deep into Russian territory. The Western allies fear such missiles would lead to escalation. Moscow said they would make the US and its allies a party to the war and would elicit a Russian response. For now, the US says its missiles can only be used to fire across the Ukraine-Russian border in self-defense, though President Joe Biden may consider a policy change.
I'm going to take that discussion back to Washington to brief the President on what I heard. From day one, as you've heard me say, we have adjusted and adapted as needs have changed, as the battlefield has changed, and I have no doubt that we'll continue to do that as this evolves.
So we are listening carefully, and of course we are having discussions on a range of issues, including the military equipment that Ukraine needs to win.
Regional leaders at the annual Crimea Platform Summit in Kiev, Zelensky said he hopes for a decisive outcome on the long-range weapons issue. The Ukraine leader is due to meet Biden in Washington on Friday and says he has a proposal to end the war diplomatically. He said he would put forward a Biden a victory plan that he says may compel Russian President Vladimir Putin to seek peace without providing details. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
A naturalized U.S. citizen who was born in Hong Kong and worked for the CIA in the 1980s was sentenced to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to spying for China. 71-year-old Alexander Yuk Ching Ma was charged with conspiracy to gather or deliver national defense information to a foreign government. He reached a plea agreement with prosecutors in May. The deal also requires him to submit to polygraph tests whenever requested by the authorities for the rest of his life. Ma, who worked for the CIA from 1982 to 1989, conspired with a relative who was also employed by the CIA. They were contracted by Chinese intelligence officers in March 2001, handing over a large volume of classified defense information in exchange for $50,000. Controversial former Peruvian president Alberto Fujimori has died at the age of 86. Fujimori steered economic growth during the 1990s, but was later jailed for human rights abuses stemming from a bloody war against Maoist rebels. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Former Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori's daughter Keiko announced the death of her father from cancer on X. Fujimori, the son of Japanese immigrants to Peru, was a little-known farming university chancellor when elected to office in 1990. He quickly established himself as a cunning politician. Fujimori tamed hyperinflation, privatized dozens of state-run companies, and slashed trade tariffs. This set the foundations for the rapid improvement of Peru's economy. Under Fujimori's watch, the leader of the Maoist Shining Path, Abimael Guzman, was captured, dealing a crucial blow to a movement that in the 1980s seemed close to toppling the Peruvian state. The conflict with the Shining Path would claim nearly 70,000 lives. A Truth Commission found that the military was responsible for more than a third of the deaths. Journalists and businessmen were kidnapped, students disappeared, and at least 2,000 Highland peasant women were forcibly sterilized. Many Peruvians saw Fujimori as an autocrat. He used military tanks to shut down Congress in 1992, redrafting the constitution to his liking. A slew of corruption scandals also tarnished Fujimori's reputation. Shortly after he won a third election in 2000, amending the constitution to run, videos emerged of Fujimori's top advisor and spy chief Vladimiro Montesinos bribing politicians. Fujimori then fled to exile in Japan, where he was a dual citizen and could not be extradited. However, in 2005, he was detained while visiting Chile before being extradited back to Peru to face criminal trial. In 2009, he was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Peru's then President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski briefly pardoned Fujimori in 2017 due to his apparent poor health. The pardon was overturned months later as Kuczynski was impeached. Still, Peru's top court restored the pardon in December 2023, releasing Fujimori. Earlier this year, Fujimori announced he had been diagnosed with a malignant tumor. Fujimori's legacy has been most passionately defended by his daughter, Keiko, who has been close to clinching the Peruvian presidency herself. Keiko had said in July her father planned to run for the presidency again in the 2026 election. Fujimori was married twice and is survived by 3 other children aside from Keiko. Dan Orell, TV News.
Still ahead, Biden, Harris, and Trump visit 9/11 terror attack site in New York City. And suspected counterfeit mooncakes and lanterns seized by customs officers. Welcome back. In the U.S., shortly after the first and possibly the only debate between presidential candidates Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, the two were seen together alongside President Joe Biden at Ground Zero in New York City. They were there to remember the nearly 3,000 people who lost their lives during the 9/11 terror attacks in 2001. The annual remembrance marks the suicide attacks when al-Qaeda Islamist militants hijacked planes that hit the World Trade Center's Twin Towers in Manhattan, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and a Pennsylvania field. Tracy Furness has more.
A memorial ceremony at a plaza in New York where the Twin Towers once stood. September 11th, the date when hijacked plane attacks killed nearly 3,000 people in 2001. And it falls in the thick of the presidential election season every 4 years. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris shake hands before the proceedings, putting a pause to their differences and after the heated debate less than 24 hours before. Then Trump and Harris standing in unity alongside former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg in a minute of silence.
Nina Patrice Bell.
Debbie S. Bellows.
Names of the victims killed in the attacks read out in tribute.
I'm here to remember my cousin, Lorena de Jesus. She was in the second tower. She worked for an insurance company. A mother, a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a beautiful soul.
Today is a bittersweet day, of course, for a lot of members, a lot of families. Just being down here, like I was saying before, I just feel coming down here, the spirits of all those who perished that day are here.
Biden and Harris laid a wreath, paying their respects at the Flight 93 National Memorial in Shanksville. United Airlines 93 was hijacked by 4 al-Qaeda terrorists on the morning of September 11th, 2001. They planned to crash the plane into a federal building but failed when passengers fought back. Flight 93 crashed into a field in Pennsylvania, killing all aboard the plane. Later, Trump paid his respects at the site in Shanksville.
So each year the families come down and spend the day with the firemen.
Trump went inside the firehouse speaking to a crowd of volunteer firefighters and families and friends of Flight 93 victims. Later at the Pentagon, Harris and Biden laid a wreath in memory of those killed there. They were joined by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. In the evening, the Tribute in Light lit Ground Zero to commemorate the 23rd anniversary. The Tribute in Light is a commemorative public art installation first unveiled 6 months after 9/11 and is presented annually from dusk to dawn on the night of September 11th. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Pope Francis today praised Singapore's economic development, but urged the city-state to look after the weakest, too. The Pope arrived in Singapore on Wednesday from East Timor for the final leg of his four-nation Asia-Pacific tour. A new hybrid orchid named after the Pope was presented to him on his second day in Singapore. Francis held talks with President Tharman Shanmugaratnam and Prime Minister Lawrence Wong before addressing government authorities and the diplomatic corps. Singapore's world-famous skyline and infrastructure was largely built by hundreds of thousands of migrant workers. Francis urged Singapore to ensure dignified pay and conditions for workers. The first ever private spacewalk took place within the past hour. Tech billionaire Jared Isaacman popped out of the hatch of the orbiting SpaceX Dragon capsule. This was the moment Isaacman opened the forward hatch and became the first private citizen to attempt a spacewalk. Isaacman was one of the 4 aboard the flight who performed the spacewalk. The chartered flight blasted off from Florida 2 days ago. He and SpaceX engineer Sarah Gillis performed the spacewalk, though they did not venture outside the Dragon capsule. SpaceX is the first private company to attempt a spacewalk, considered among the most dangerous parts of any space mission. The crew of 4 will test spacesuits fresh off the factory floor. For safety, Isaacman and Gillis always kept a foot or hand on the capsule or the ladder-like support above the hatch. They were tethered to 3.6-meter lines, but did not dangle at the end of them. SpaceX engineer Anna Menon and former Air Force Thunderbird pilot Scott Poteet monitored the spacewalk from inside. Ahead of the Mid-Autumn Festival on Tuesday, customs officers have seized suspected counterfeit mooncakes, lanterns, and tableware with a combined market value of about $28,000. 5 people have been arrested. Jackie Lynn has the story.
The suspected counterfeit lanterns seized were mainly printed with well-known cartoon characters. Also confiscated were multiple sets of tableware and mooncakes allegedly bearing forged trademarks from luxury brands. Between the end of last month and Monday this week, customs uncovered the suspected bogus brand name mooncakes being sold through online platforms. Officers then raided a residential unit in Southern District. They seized 26 boxes of suspected counterfeit mooncakes and 20 sets of alleged knockoff tableware. They were priced around 30% lower than the genuine mooncakes. Customs said while the alleged counterfeits imitated the genuine product's packaging, they have poorer printing qualities and spelling mistakes. For instance, the letter C in magical is spelled with an E. Another more telltale sign of a fake, customs said the real ones can be authenticated via QR codes on the package. Authorities also seized 540 suspected counterfeit lanterns at 3 retail shops in Yuen Long and Tuen Mun. They were priced at $8 to $40, undercutting the price of their genuine counterparts by around 20 to 30%. 2 men and 3 women aged between 21 and 70 were arrested. Authorities are not ruling out more arrests with stepped-up patrols in the market and online sweeps. They have also reminded citizens to purchase Mid-Autumn Festival goods from reputable vendors. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
One of the city's biggest green business conferences opened at the Exhibition and Convention Center in Wan Chai today. Jackie Lin was at the 2-day event.
The 5th edition of the Rethink Hong Kong conference showcased sustainable solutions from over 250 companies. They include this technology that turns plastic and glass waste into vegan leather.
I think Hong Kong has a huge potential because it has such a vibrant financial market, very supportive in ESG and green-related facilities, as well as, we've got amazing technology around.
This award-winning food-saving app offers real-time discounted leftover produce and food from hundreds of shops and dining outlets across Hong Kong.
Different businesses upload how much food they have left over, and then customers like you and me can download the app. It's about 30 seconds to check out. It's super quick and super easy. Everything is at least 50% off, and you can choose from over 250 different stores, anything from bakery to restaurants to hotels.
The 2-day conference also features 120 themed talks and sharing sessions. Siddharth Chatterjee, the most senior representative of the United Nations in China, noted Hong Kong's potential as a green financing hub.
I would strongly recommend that governments enact policies that becomes enablers to more public-private partnerships, more foreign direct investments, and more enabling environments for companies, people, governments to really unlock their full potential.
Potential electric bus fleets to run on Hong Kong streets as well. This world's largest double-decker bus maker manufactured the city's first electric bus for KMB, which came into service in May.
So what's special about this new EV bus model? It might look small from the outside, but it's very spacious once you get in. And that's a technical breakthrough the developer has made through spreading the battery evenly throughout the bus. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.